The story of Kevin Keegan is one of those rare narratives that bridges the gap between the gritty, black and white era of mud-soaked pitches and the glossy, high-stakes spectacle of the modern Premier League. He's a man who didn't just play the game, he personified its evolution. From the streets of Doncaster to the bright lights of the Ballon d'Or stage, Keegan's life is a tapestry of relentless ambition, tactical genius, and, as we have seen more recently, the inevitable friction that occurs when a legend of the past meets the changing social landscape of the present. To understand Kevin Keegan, you have to go back to February 14, 1951. Born into a working-class family in Armthorpe, Doncaster, Keegan's early years were defined by the coal mining culture that surrounded him. Football wasn't a hobby or a career path in the modern sense. It was the heartbeat of the community. It was the way a young boy from a modest background could dream of something larger than the local colliery. Keegan spent his youth honing his craft on the local parks and streets, often using his younger brother's push-air as a makeshift goalpost. It was here that he developed the Mighty Mouse persona, small in stature, but possessing an engine and a determination that could outlast any opponent. His journey into professional football was far from a guaranteed success. He faced early rejection from Coventry City, a blow that might have sidelined a lesser character. But Keegan's resilience, even as a teenager, was legendary. He eventually found his footing at Scunthorpe United in 1968. It was at Scunthorpe where he began to understand the physical toll of the English game. At only 5 feet 8 inches, he was constantly told he was too small, but he used his low centre of gravity and explosive pace to turn that perceived weakness into his greatest weapon. Everything changed in 1971 when Bill Shankly brought him to Liverpool for just £35,000. It remains one of the greatest pieces of business in football history. At Anfield, Keegan became the face of a new era. Alongside the towering John Toshak, Keegan formed one of the most telepathic strike partnerships the game has ever seen. They were the original big man, small man duo, tearing through defences across England and Europe. During his 6 years at Liverpool, Keegan helped the club secure 3 First Division titles, an FA Cup, 2 UEFA Cups, and finally, the European Cup in 1977. But Keegan was never one to rest on his laurels. At the peak of his powers, he made the daring move to West Germany to join Hamburger SV. It was a move that many questioned, but Keegan silenced his critics by becoming a global superstar. He didn't just play in Germany, he conquered it. He led Hamburg to their first Bundesliga title nearly 2 decades and won the Ballon d'Or not once, but twice, in 1978 and 1979. He remains one of the few English players to have truly flourished and been universally respected on the continent. His international career with England was equally storied, though perhaps more fraught with the frustrations of the era. Earning 63 caps and scoring 21 goals, Keegan eventually became the captain, leading the nation with the same heart-on-sleeve passion that he brought to his clubs. He was the catalyst for England's return to the World Cup stage in 1982, after a long, painful 12-year absence. While a back injury famously limited his impact in Spain, his role in revitalising the national team's spirit cannot be overstated. When the boots were finally hung up, the legend grew even larger in the dugout. His managerial career at Newcastle United in the 1990s is the stuff of folklore. He took a club on the brink of relegation to the 3rd tier and transformed them into the entertainers. Newcastle didn't just win. They played a brand of swashbuckling, attacking football that captured the imagination of the entire country. The 1995-96 season, where they famously narrowly missed out on the Premier League title to Manchester United, remains one of the most emotional chapters in English football history, highlighted by Keegan's infamous "I would love it" television outburst, a moment of raw, unvarnished honesty that defined his character. Away from the roar of the crowd, Keegan's personal life has always been his sanctuary. He met his wife, Zhong, at a fair in Doncaster in 1970, before he was a household name. In fact, in a charming piece of footballing trivia, he initially lied to her about his job, telling her he worked at a steelworks because he thought being a footballer sounded too flash. They married in secret in 1974 to avoid a media circus, and Jong has remained his unwavering support system through every triumph and every resignation. For decades, they managed to keep their family life, including their two daughters, almost entirely out of the tabloids, a feat nearly impossible for someone of his stature. However, even a legacy as polished as Keegan's can face modern-day turbulence. Recently, the legend found himself at the centre of a storm following comments he made at a speaking engagement in Bristol. Discussing the rise of female pundits in the men's game, Keegan expressed a view that many have labelled as a relic of a bygone era. He stated that while he admired the talent of many female presenters, he struggled with lady footballers providing tactical analysis on men's international matches. His reasoning that the experience of the two games isn't the same ignited a fierce debate across social media and news outlets. Critics were quick to point out that the game is the game, regardless of who is playing it, and that many female pundits, like Alex Scott and Jill Scott, provide insights that rival or exceed their male counterparts. The backlash was significant, with many fans feeling disappointed that a man who was once such a progressive force on the pitch was now expressing such exclusionary views off it. What added a layer of personal drama to this controversy was the reaction from within his own household. Reports surfaced that his wife, Jong, was deeply embarrassed and furious with the public nature of these comments. For a woman who has spent 50 years helping her husband maintain a reputation for decency and class, seeing him share these comments in public felt like a betrayal of the privacy and respect they had worked so hard to cultivate. It highlighted a fascinating divide, the struggle of a legendary figure to adapt to the 21st century, and the family that has to navigate the fallout when those traditional views clash with modern values. Adding further gravity to his recent journey, the family recently shared the news that Kevin has been diagnosed with cancer and is currently undergoing treatment. This revelation shifted the public discourse from criticism to a massive outpouring of support. His former clubs, Liverpool and Newcastle, led the tributes, reminding the world that despite his recent controversial remarks, Keegan remains one of the most beloved figures the sport has ever known. The King is facing his toughest opponent yet, and the footballing world has rallied behind him, proving that his impact truly does transcend generations. Kevin Keegan's story is not a simple one. It is a complex narrative of a man who rose from nothing to reach the very pinnacle of the world's most popular sport. He gave fans moments of pure, unadulterated joy and showed that with enough determination, a small boy from Doncaster could rule Europe. While his recent comments on female pundits reminded us that he is a man of a specific generation, his battle with illness reminds us of his humanity. Ultimately, Keegan's legacy will not be defined by a single comment at a talk in Bristol, nor will it be defined solely by the trophies in his cabinet. It will be defined by the passion he ignited in millions of fans. Whether he was sprinting down the wing at Anfield, lifting the Ballon d'Or in Germany, or loving it on the touchline at St James Park, Kevin Keegan always gave everything he had. As he continues his latest personal battle, the respect and love from the football community serve as a testament to a life lived loudly, proudly, and with an undeniable heart.